Should you be messaging your prospects in messengers like WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, or WeChat? Let's find out in this video. Hi, I'm Philip Lempa from Apex Virtual Selling, where we help companies sell more SaaS in Asia Pacific by leveraging modern sales strategies. So recently I did a video on tips for selling internationally. And in that video, I talked about engaging prospects in a way that makes sense for a particular market. So more specifically, communicating with them in a way that makes sense for a particular market. And part of that was the use of messengers that might be the best way, the main way to communicate in a particular Asia Pacific market. And this video should be linked somewhere above me, so have a look. But based on that video, I did receive a question about the use of messengers in a sales cycle and in prospecting in general. And this is what I'll cover in this brief video today. So per what I mentioned in that video that I was referencing, if using something like WeChat or Line is the main way, the best way to communicate in a particular market or in a subset of that market, definitely that's what you should be doing. That's how you should be engaging your prospects. However, this isn't always so clear cut. So there are plenty of markets within Asia Pacific and of course beyond it where probably it's still expected to mainly communicate via those traditional business channels, like just phone, email, Zoom meetings, etc. So the question is, should I potentially engage those messengers, those additional channels in markets like that? Is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to hurt me? And if so, how to potentially do it? And this is something we'll quickly discuss in this video. So let's quickly discuss the benefits of engaging prospects in messengers. So you typically get a bit more engagement. It is something that you can leverage quite nicely that's in between calling them and perhaps emailing them. You'll typically get better engagement, perhaps quicker response rates, and it will make it all that much more casual, right? So there's definitely benefits to engaging your prospects this way, regardless of the market. Okay, so how to potentially get those benefits and engage your prospects in this way, regardless of what kind of market you're in and what's the business culture and preferred methods of communication. So from my experience, the best way to reach out to your prospects via these channels is if there already is some kind of relationship going. And I hesitated a bit here with the word relationship because it doesn't need to be anything super deep, but the idea here is that if your prospects get a notification on their messenger, something they might consider a bit more personal, about somebody messaging them, they have a vague idea of who you are and they have a reason to engage with you already. Then you have much better chance of getting a response and keeping them engaged that way, keep the dialogue going. Then if you're messaging them and they don't recognize, who are you? And this can be problematic, especially on an engagement where you perhaps could have really used this kind of channel down the road, but because of this initial unsuccessful attempt, the prospect straight up blocked you, or perhaps later on they're going to be hesitant to engage with you because there will be that conversation that they never gotten back to you. It's going to be awkward, etc. So keep that in mind. The other piece of advice that worked very well for me, and this is especially useful for markets, for instance, like Australia, where people might like to separate a bit more their work life from their personal life is when you're first engaging via something like a messenger, make sure to ask them whether they're okay to communicate in this channel. So something I would do, for instance, I would say, hey, Mr. Prospect, I like to communicate in WhatsApp because it's much more convenient than doing emails or texts. You can record voice, etc. But is this okay for you? And then you'll get you'll get the answer whether it is something that will work for them, or maybe they want to keep it separate, keep something like WhatsApp for their personal life, nothing work related, and that way you'll be able to leave them alone and it won't be awkward. So one thing that's important to mention here as well is that if you are contacting your prospects via these channels, it is quite important that you do it based on information that I already shared with you. So what I mean by that, let's say you'll be contacting them on WhatsApp or WeChat or Signal, and this is because you have their mobile number, which was in their signature or they otherwise shared with you, right? This is much different to, let's say, tracking down the prospect on something like Instagram, where you kind of piece together some information that you know about them and you're trying to engage them that way, right? So this will come across as rather creepy, and that's certainly something that I would avoid. So what about using something like WhatsApp, especially in the markets where everybody communicates through that, for business development? Well, for the most part, it is something that I would avoid. There's certain very niche instances where this could be effective, could help you stand out, and you could have a decent campaign, but those are very, very niche cases, definitely beyond the scope of this video. If you'd like to discuss such a niche campaign, whether that's the right tool for you, or if you need help in general growing your SaaS business in Asia Pacific, definitely do get in touch with us, and make sure to give this video a bit of interaction and subscribe to our channel so that we can have some feedback that this is useful, and we can continue to develop this free content.